Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier. You think I could get sued for that? Nah. Markiplier's chill. He wouldn't sue a fat. Hello every pony. Scooter the skunk here. Why is it so hard for me to come up with an intro? Now I want to preface this video by saying I apologize for the audio quality. See, I have a nice mic connected to my desktop, however the camera quality for the desktop is not very good, so I'm recording this on my phone, which means I have to use one of these things, otherwise you won't be able to hear me. Also, I'm re-recording this whole thing because I initially recorded it in the wrong aspect ratio, so my throat is a little sore, so bear with me there too. Rest assured, I will be getting a better desktop camera in the future, so bear with me, this channel is still very much under construction. Anyway, in today's video, we will be discussing some furry things that you may or may not remember depending on how long you've been in the fandom. And if you remember the last one, like actually experienced it, I will personally pay for your end-of-life care because you're probably dying right now. How do you even know how to operate YouTube? You're so old. I'm kidding, obviously, it wasn't that long ago. I will be going down a list of 4 things that are either completely defunct or have just fallen into obscurity, and you let me know if you remember them or if you even knew they existed. The first thing on our list is pretty infamous and not that old, so most of you probably remember Furry Amino. Furry Amino was a part of Amino, which was an app that was kinda like Reddit, as it was a place where you can make your own subforms for pretty much anything. Furry Amino specifically had its own app and was very popular in its prime, with hundreds of thousands of users. It was founded in June of 2016, but was ultimately shut down in December of last year, as the Amino platform itself was deactivated. I remember being on Furry Amino a lot when I first joined the fandom. In fact, I remember its release. In theory, it was a cool platform for furries to share anything from art to photos to writing, and there were different subforms for things revolving around furry. However, I remember pretty much right off the bat, there were some issues. The biggest one being, for whatever reason, it was overrun by children. I remember being in one of the subforums where I found out that both the owner and admins were under the age of 14. And this was not uncommon, as the platform was not really supervised by the creators, and it quickly became very popular with young furries. I remember watching these 12 to 13-year-old moderators arguing over some stupid drama in the public forum. Also, kids don't know how to moderate these things smoothly. Pretty much any drama or issues that occurred there was left in the hands of children, so you can imagine why it became known as a pretty unpleasant place. Things like art theft or creeps were not taken care of by the people who actually ran the site, and minors should not have these types of responsibilities on the internet. Overall, I don't think it was a bad thing for it to be shut down, as like I said before, it wasn't a very safe place, but it still holds a place in furry internet history. Speaking of poorly run defunct websites, this brings us to the next thing on the list, Furby. Now, we all know what the dealer's den is, right? It's that website where you can sell and auction off fursuits. But how many of you have been around long enough to remember Furby? Furby was basically the same thing, except with a much more primitive user interface, as it predated the dealer's den by quite a few years. It was created in 1999 and first became available to the public in the year 2000 as a website where people could buy, sell, and auction off fursuits. However, the site was not run very diligently, and people were constantly getting scammed out of their purchases with no way to get their money back. Or people would bid on auctions, win the auctions, and just not follow through with the purchase, which was very inconvenient to the sellers. That's one nice thing about the dealer's den, is you will get banned from the website if you don't follow through on bids or you scam others, and the customer service is actually quite decent. I've used the dealer's den in the past to sell a few of my old suits, and it's very convenient and simple. However, I was lucky enough to have not become a stereotype, as I actually purchased my first suit on Furby. It was only a head, medium-ish quality, that I eventually built a full suit around, and I was one of like 2 bidders, and if my memory serves me, I ended up winning with a bid of like $90, so crazy steal, even for a lower quality suit. I believe Nos Hyena made a video about how he purchased his first suit on Furby, but was completely scammed and never received the suit, and that unfortunately wasn't uncommon. Furby was inevitably shut down in 2019 after almost 20 years of running, and the dealer's den became the new hotspot for fursuit auctions. Now, we've discussed a few websites here, so I think it's time to switch it up and talk about a convention. Can you guess which one I'm talking about? If you were a furry before 2016, you can probably guess. That's right, the infamous Rainfurrest. Rainfurrest was a furry convention founded in 2017 in the Pacific Northwest, specifically Seattle, Washington, my old stomping grounds. However, it was disbanded, with 2015 being its last year. There were plans for it to happen in 2016, but they were cancelled, and for good reason. I'm sure most of us have seen the YouTube videos discussing this problematic convention, but since it's been a while and there's a lot of new furries out there, I figured I'd put it on our list. The con was run horribly for starters. It was like a lawless swamp. The founders and a lot of the regular attendees were disagreeable people, to put it lightly. The con became infamous for the diaper incident, in which used diapers were tossed into the hotel's pool, as well as thrown around the parking lot. It was an all-ages con, but had a particular issue with diaper furs, meaning adults walking around the con floor in diapers, using said diapers, and participating in NSFW activities in public, as con staff had no desire to do anything about it. Now, I don't care what consenting adults do behind closed doors, but there is a time and a place. On top of this, people were straight up destroying hotel property, going as far as to clog the lobby toilets with various items, causing them to back up and overflow, as well as destroying smoke alarms in the rooms so they could smoke. Just put a bag over it. Put a bag over it. Now, as cons have grown vastly in numbers over the past 10 years, we've all seen patterns in con staff disregarding issues pertaining to attendee behavior and safety, but Rainfurrest still takes the cake. Rainfurrest 2016 was cancelled because things were so bad the previous year that no hotels in the area or even the neighboring states were willing to host the con anymore, understandably so. It put such a massive damper on the furry reputation in the Pacific Northwest that when Anthro Northwest was founded in 2017, it had to be labeled as an anthropomorphic arts convention because all the local hotels would bolt if they heard the word furry. Anthro Northwest was also founded as a PG con, meaning there was no fetish gear allowed, and any NSFW art being sold in the artist alley had to be heavily censored, or in some cases wasn't allowed at all. I remember them specifically stating that the only pet-related gear allowed were collars, but if you attached a leash to it, you would be in trouble. This might make Anthro Northwest sound like a not-so-fun convention, but it was my very first con, and I attended for a few years before moving out of the area, so it does hold a special place in my heart. Yes, they had to be extremely careful about not allowing anything that could be perceived as NSFW because of how badly Rainfurrest tainted furry, especially back then when furries were still not well received at all. But I still think Anthro Northwest was a nice little con, and the staff for the most part are passionate about attendee safety, so that's never a bad thing. Now, from what I've heard, the founders of Rainfurrest did end up starting a new con called Furvana that takes place off the coast of Washington State. It started in 2019 and appears to have run for a few years, but the last listed con on Wikifur was 2023 for some reason. I looked up the con website and they have 2025 listed, so I guess it's still operational, just not very big. Other than that, I haven't seen anything negative about it, and I do know one of the furries who is helping run the con, and they're a very cool and responsible person, so hopefully there will be no repeats of Rainfurrest. Now, we've talked about a few things that really aren't all that obscure, so I think it's time to mention our final and most underground topic, which is furry code. Furry code was strings of code, i.e. numbers, letters, and symbols, utilized by more tech-savvy furries to help them identify one another on the internet. It was created in 1996, having been inspired by the Geek Code, which was made specifically for tech nerds. These different strings of code would describe their persona's characteristics, such as species, interests, and even sexual orientation. This practice pretty much stayed in the 90s, with the original furry code not really having been updated since 1998, and with the rapid advancements in technology and the internet, it has been rendered virtually obsolete. Here's an example of what the code looked like. I gotta be honest, I'm not a coding expert and I don't really understand this as it was before my time. And obviously, coding back then was a bit more primitive than it is today. Apparently, there is a Furry Code 2.0 that was developed as recently as 2023, but I couldn't really find any information on it other than that. And even then, it's a very outdated practice, so there are very few people who still use it or even know of its existence. I am really curious to know though if there are any viewers out there who actually remembered Furry Code or used it. I've yet to meet someone who knows what it is whenever I bring it up, but perhaps there is someone out there who could shed a little more light on this old and elusive practice. Anyways, that's been our list of a few defunct furry things. Let me know in the comments below if you remember any of these or if you had any personal experiences with them. Also, if you can think of anything in particular that should go on this list, do drop it below, and perhaps I could get enough information for a part 2 of this video. If you could please like the video and subscribe, as it's free and really helps my channel, and 1 like equals 1 flower from my hair. I grow them myself. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to stay safe and stay furry. Bye.